Hey everyone, Eric in the garden this morning. It's May 20th. I hope you liked the last rose garden tour. Comment below, what kind of tour do you like? The one today and the one I traditionally do will be me talking about the rose, and they are a little bit more lengthy. That's the downside, but I'm able to say a little bit more about the roses. Or do you prefer the music, me not talking and then just showing the roses, or do you prefer a mix? Right now I'm doing a mix. I think it flows better with the music and straight to the point, not always hearing from me. But today's example is I want to talk about Veterans Honor a little bit more and why I think it's such a good red rose. So comment below, which one do you prefer? With me talking, with the music, short and sweet, or kind of a mix of both? So I'm gonna give you a garden tour today. I know I've shown you a lot of these roses, but this is why I love Veterans Honor. Look at all those blooms that are coming. This is a rose that is very commercially available. I showed you this bloom almost a week ago, and this is an exhibition rose because it takes a long time to get to that stage of being fully open. So you go from this, and then very, very slowly it'll open to this, often with a center for rose shows, and then eventually over the course of a week or week and a half you get this. So it's a fantastic rose, a huge red bloom. The conditions in our garden are exactly the same. I'll show you Mr. Caleb here a little bit later. Beautiful rose, but you'll notice some brown damage on the outer petals from dew. You don't get that with Veterans Honor. I mean, this rose has not been protected. It looks fantastic. It's a very big bloom. All of the hybrid teas I grow do have some issues with black spot. That's just kind of the nature growing exhibition roses. So while they have strengths of nice blooms, they're not the most resistant roses. With that said, this Veterans Honor is usually one of the last ones to get black spot in my garden. I do spray, and you can see those huge leaves. So if you're looking for a red, it doesn't have a fragrance like a Mr. Lincoln, cannot recommend Veterans Honor enough. And the nice thing about it, it is commercially available, so it's not hard to get. Many companies sell that. Another one that I recommend is Gemini, also a good growing rose. For comparison, you can see the Veterans Honor is a little taller. In my experience, the Veterans Honor does grow a little bit bigger. However, Gemini is one of the bigger bushes in my garden. It is a highly rated rose. And what I mean by that is for rose shows, I want this type of form. And it takes a long time for the bloom to open up. And the nice thing about that, not only does it look nicer in the garden longer, but when you give it to friends and family, it will have a very long vase life. So again, it has this nice form, and it stays like that for a long time. So it'll initially open up like that, and again, that is a beauty. Hard to beat that coloring, and this is not even coming off as much as it is in person. Very nice glossy leaves, very good rose. So two of my all-time favorites, Gemini and Veterans Honor, both equally easy to get in terms of ordering online. I'm going to show you Jewel Grace in a second. Hot Princess, a little harder to get, but a very nice florist rose. It is a nice pink. You can get this from K&M Roses. You can also get this from Wisconsin Roses, wiroses.com. Jot these names down. This is not something that you want to go out and get now. We're kind of getting out of the season for planting, especially in the United States. It's better to plant these in the fall or early spring. Another one that's a little harder to get, but if you can, it's Jewel Grace. I showed this a couple days ago, and again, it has very nice coloring. You can see the yellow down into the petal itself. And if I'm not much of a photographer, but I try to do my videos earlier in the morning or toward dusk because the lighting is not as harsh, and that's really showing up nicely. You can see it also opens a little slower. Most of my roses are exhibition roses, and they tend to open slower and keep that form longer because I do compete in rose shows. I have a mix. I have some roses that open up quick because I want fragrance and I want color and some other features in the garden. One that's a tricky rose, it's beautiful, is a Firm. Lots of petals. Where I live, it can have some issues with thrips. I've certainly shown you that. And it can get some damage from the dew, but it's a huge pink bloom. You can get this K&M roses and also Wisconsin roses as well. I'll try to link below. I know I got to catch up with some of the videos in the past, but that's just a quick overall tour recommending Gemini and Veterans Honor. You can see the growth on these roses are really good. Most of these two beds were planted in spring of 2017. So they're 4 years old. They had a light pruning in the fall, a light pruning in the late winter, and you can see those videos below. Here's one that was planted in 2018. It's well established, tremendous amount of blooms, tremendous foliage. But you contrast that to Veterans Honor, and this is a nice looking rose right there. This one is Mr. Caleb. The issue sometimes is, again, if you're going to exhibit this in rose shows, you're going to need to cover it. You can see some of the brown marks on the edge of the rose, and that is from dew. We certainly haven't had rain. We're in a moderate drought. Here's a nice, I think that might be an assassin bug, hopefully eating my thrips and any spider mites that are trying to creep up. Nonetheless, a good growing rose, plenty of blooms, and one that is not damaged, looks outstanding. In fact, I'm going to try to get a picture of that. And again, this camera phone does not do it justice. This looks even better in person. I would prefer Veterans Honor, and also Mr. Caleb is a little harder to get. Some of my whites, including Silver Cream and especially Pope John Paul, took a whooping with regards to thrips, but now that I've sprayed a little bit, yes, the outside petals are brown, but at least the blooms are opening up. And it has nice form on it. This is Pope John Paul II. Yes, these outer petals had some issues with thrips, but we can certainly peel those off. Has a nice citrusy smell. This is our fragrance garden. These maybe could make it into a rose show, especially that form right there is pretty darn good. But by and large, I'm growing Pope John Paul II and Secret, and especially Fragrant Cloud for the fragrance factor. Want to show you quickly Fragrant Cloud. That was in the video yesterday, and this is a prime example of different roses have different qualities. This one is fragrant. That is why I grow this. It's not the most robust rose. You can see it's still kind of small, and I've had it for a little while, and the petals have already fallen off. So those roses I just showed you in the video yesterday, you know, it was an open bloom. They have completely fallen on the ground. And that's just the downside of this rose. It's not going to be shown in a rose show. It doesn't hold that form, versus this Folklore. The same roses are on the bush day after day, lots of petals, takes a while to open, but it doesn't have fragrance. So when you plan your garden, you grow what you're interested in. I grow roses I need to spray, but they produce beautiful blooms. I mean, can you beat that orange? That is a nice orange rose. And they produce really, really nice flowers. But I also want a mix of roses like the Fragrant Cloud, or over here Mr. Lincoln, that aren't going to do anything for me in a rose show, but the fragrance is outstanding. One rose that does have some form and fragrance is Dolly Parton. This is a big bloom, very, very nice. I haven't grown that until this past year, and that's a nice rose as well. So I think I'll wrap things up. You've seen a lot of Ring of Fires. That has nice form to it. It does open kind of quick. I mentioned Veterans Honor, Gemini. Highly recommend the Veterans Honor for a red rose. For the Gemini, it's a pink blend. Those two are commercially available. Mr. Caleb, a nice rose. Jewel Grace, Affirm, all nice roses. However, they're a little harder to find. One last rose you can get that's a decent grower. It doesn't grow as well as Gemini or Veterans Honor. It's not as big, and it does get black spot a little more, but it's a nice rose, and you can see it in the garden centers, and it is also pretty widely available commercially. Is Marilyn Monroe. Very pretty form to it. It is an exhibition style rose, and again, what we mean by that is it may be little picky with regards to its resistance to diseases, but you have big blooms that are good cut flowers. So either you leave them in the garden and they look like this, or you cut them and give them to your significant other, friends, family, neighbor, and they don't fall apart in the vase right away. So that is it. I don't see anything else worth showing? Maybe this Claire Elise, good growing rose, a little hard to get commercially. This is from John Smith, K&M Roses, and I think Wisconsin. Those are two I keep mentioning because they specialize in especially exhibition roses. So beautiful bloom, just a little bit harder to get with regards to commercial availability. So that is it. This is a longer video. I said it from the top. Comment below, which one do you prefer? Do you like this longer one where I talk about each rose a little more? Do you just want to get to the point, have a little nice music and see blooms? Or do you like the mix? I kind of like doing both. The short and sweet one is a little bit harder to edit, but it certainly is good for people that may not have 10 minutes to view a YouTube video. So I hope everyone's doing well. Our big tour of the garden for the Eastern North Carolina Rose Society is Saturday. So I'm excited the roses are doing well. We are in a moderate drought, so I've been watering these roses, especially because I want them to look really good for the society members. Keep in mind, roses need about 1 to 2 inches of water a week. So if you're not getting that from Mother Nature, you need to water at least once a week. Fill up a bucket, see how long it takes to fill up 3 or 4 gallons, and that's what you need. So for me, it's about 30 seconds. So if I just water each bush for 30 seconds once a week, that's all that's necessary. If I'm having friends come over, if I'm doing a rose show, if we're in a drought like we are here the last couple months, I'll do twice a week, especially as we get warmer. Have a good day, everyone. And as always, I appreciate the new subscribers and the comments. Always look forward to seeing those. Have a good one.